Okay, good evening, everybody. I just have a few quick rules to read before we start here tonight. This is a web-based meeting, so we are operating under the following procedures. This session is being audio recorded just like every other CCP meeting. Please be advised that today we are also recording a video of the proceedings. To ensure sound quality, the default rule for this meeting is that everyone will remain on mute. Commissioners and staff will generally remain on mute except when speaking or voting. Applicants or members of the public should have their video off. If you're speaking at the meeting and you have anything to show the commission which was not distributed in advance of the meeting with the rest of the materials, please indicate that you wish to submit. You will need to provide a description of it so that the commission and all members of the public may review it. In addition, you'll be required to email me the exhibit or take a photograph of it and email it to me so I can post it on the website and include it in the permanent records of the commission. Members of the public may only speak during an open public hearing, which we're not having this evening. If anyone speaks outside of a public hearing or creates an audio or video disruption, they may be manually ejected from the meeting upon recommendation of staff or the chair. So Deanna, who's going to chair tonight?
So I'm going to ask Michael Lahan to chair this meeting because Frank Manfredi is not logged on yet, and neither has Les, and Les wasn't going to be able to be here tonight. So Michael, if you don't mind being the chairman tonight.
Okay.
Okay, so if you would call the meeting to order, that would be helpful.
Okay, so for the agenda, we'll call the meeting to order. It's 5:05 p.m. and Dan Daniska has already read to us the ground rules for holding this video session. There's a roll call and seating of alternates. I can't see everybody, but we do in fact have a quorum present.
So Jason, Jason's going to be seated tonight, and so we have Michael Lahan, Kathy Wazika, and Jason Porter as the three members of the commission for the quorum. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So then then for the meat of the meeting, the first matter on the agenda is the request for extension in accordance with zoning regulation section 7.5.10 to June 15, 2024 for SDP 921 parentheses capital B 607 Norwich Avenue and 5 Street, development of the North Mill at Panema, aka Lofts at Panema Mill for residential use. Proposal includes associated site improvements, including but not limited to parking, drainage, landscaping, and recreation area, approved June 15, 2010. First extension expires June 15, 2020. So we're looking for the second extension.
Sure, yep. So if, Dan, if you don't mind putting up the request that was in an email, that would be helpful. We have that. So this was the request for 921B. It came from Luke Hoffman, who was on this call, and if you need him to speak as well. Dear Deanna, we are currently constructing the third phase of the Lofts at Panema Mill. We'll not complete construction by the expiration date indicated in approval SDP 921B and the extension previously provided. We respectfully request that the completion of the construction be extended for an additional 4 years until June 2024. Please be advised if there's anything further necessary to consider this request. Thank you for your consideration of this matter. Luke Hoffman, and he is the attorney for Panema Mills. So they're they're refinancing the project. We are allowed in that zoning regulation 7 section that was in our agenda to extend for a total of 14 years, the original 5 years, and then a 9 years from there. So they are asking to have this extended. I do have some recommendations for conditions if you extend this. And if you want, Luke Hoffman can speak as well if you want to have any questions for the extension. But my recommendations are that this extension is the final extension that be granted, that the city review the adequacy of the existing bond and the amount of the bond, and that acceptable forms for the E&S bond or a letter of credit or check to the city of Norwich. And that all conditions from the original approval remain in effect, and that no changes to the site plan or approved project shall occur without prior approval of the commission on the city plan. And that the current Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Conservation Commission permit 17-12 expires on October 5th, 2022. Should all the site improvements for the project not be completed before this date, no site work or land disturbance activities shall occur until the requisite wetland permits in place for any remaining land disturbance activities that fall within regulated or upland areas. So those would be 4 recommended conditions should you grant this extension as requested. Dan, could you go back to the agenda? And again, extension would be to June 15th, 2024. Does anyone have any questions for Luke Hoffman? I know this isn't a public hearing, but he is here on the call.
Just wondering, because I was not involved with this, and I know that Jason wasn't either. What is remaining?
So, Lou, do you want to speak to that, or would you like me to speak to that? Dan, can you unmute him, please?
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Yeah.
Can you, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So the site plan itself, the improvements regarding the site plan are mostly complete. The exterior of the buildings are done, all of that work has been complete, but we are working on the interiors of the last phase right now. The financing, the lender wants to ensure that the site plan approval extends during that period. So, and all of the conditions that Deanna has mentioned, I don't have any problem with because.
Oh, Lou, you're muted again. Unmute yourself.
Tap to speak. Okay.
Oh, there you are. So we
Okay,
heard
great.
that you said you didn't have any issues with the conditions that I recommended, the 4 conditions.
No, because we're if not entirely complete, mostly complete with all of the exterior work that's called in these site plans. So, and in fact, the bond that work is done. That was bonded, and the soil and erosion, it's all stabilized outside. So, but in any event, I can go over that with Deanna, but I don't have a problem with those conditions.
Okay. So if you don't have any more questions for Lou or myself, I would like to entertain, Michael could entertain a motion to approve with those, the extension request to the date of June 15th, 2024 with the 4 conditions that I stated.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Kathy. Is there a second? Jason?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed? And the motion passes.
And Michael, you voted in favor of it, so it's unanimous?
Yes.
Thank you.
And then the
And
second
you want to go on
item.
to the next one?
Yep. Second item on the agenda is a request for extension in accordance with zoning regulation section 7.5.10 to July 20th, 2024 for SDP number 1007, 555 and 575 Norwich Avenue. Development of South Mill at Panema for warehouse commercial office space use. Proposal includes associated improvements, including roadway, parking lot, parking deck, drainage, and utility installation. Approved July 20th, 2010. Expired July 20th, 2015.
So in this particular application, it has expired. However, again, our regulations are pretty loose as far as allowing you to still grant an extension if it's within the time frame. So the allowance would be to still be up to July 20th, 2024. This project, the South Mill, we did recently with the DECD $200,000 assessment grant. We did some brownfield assessment there, and part of that was some planning for concept plan. So I'm expecting, and Lou can chime in on this, I'm expecting that what was originally approved is probably going to change at some point. I'm not confident that they're going to do the parking deck in the rear. Some of that, when we did the concept plan with the brownfields, made sense to change that and do some regrading and doing some brownfields remediation by keeping some of the soils on site and just changing the way the layout was. But this is basically to hold kind of a placeholder, I would say. It's not necessarily that this is going to be built out the way that it was originally approved, but they don't want to lose their approval because they would like to come back, I'm assuming it is time to do a modification. So Lou, would you like to talk about that? And I do have some recommended conditions on this one as well. I'll come back.
Oh, yes, thank you, members of the board and Dan and Deanna. So this is the building that's south of the loft at Panema Mills, and it used to house Amazing Furniture. It's got the successor of that in a much smaller version. And we're discussing uses for the building such as were allowed and as Deanna has stated. But it's been, that's still evolving because of the changes in the neighborhood. And now that the lofts have, are successful and we have populated that, so the success of that building and its commercial uses are the prospects are a little better. So we intend to discuss how to better facilitate and how to better use that building. And we've gotten some help from the city in determining the brownfields, and we're going to move on with that. But in the interim, I did not want to lose what we had, and we probably will modify it somewhat as the uses become better firm.
So I have some recommendations for this one, a little bit different, similar to the others, that this extension is the final extension that can be granted, that the city review the adequacy of the existing bond and amount, acceptable forms for E&S bonds or a letter of credit or check to the city of Norwich, that all the conditions from the original approval remain in effect and that no changes to the site plan or any element of the approved project shall occur without prior approval of the commission on the city plan. And that the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Conservation Commission permit, Inland Wetlands Conservation Commission number 10-03, expired on June 3rd, 2015. Therefore, no zoning permit shall be requested or issued for commencement of any site work or land disturbance activities associated with this project until the requisite wetlands permits in place for any land disturbance activities within the regulated or upland area. Again, this is kind of a placeholder, and they understand that the wetlands permit has expired and that they will need to go back to wetlands before they start this project. But my expectation, based on our brownfields planning work that we did there, is the project will probably change anyways, so it doesn't make sense to go back at this point to get wetlands approval for what they're not probably likely going to do. I don't expect that the parking deck, again, Lou, that would be for you to chime in on. I don't think the parking deck is really something that they wanted to do at this point any longer.
That's true. The parking deck, we may be able to eliminate that. Part of the uses for the parking deck was as a cap for the brownfield. So that's really now, we need to look at that again in light of the new studies. But, and the uses, and we'll have to go back to the Inland Water Commission. But the purposes for that building are becoming better identified, maybe for food, for educational, things like that. I think it'll be a welcome addition to the neighborhood, actually, to Norwich in general. And so in the interim, though, I'd like to hold on to what we have, and then we'll see how it's appropriate to change it.
Okay, so I would recommend that if you make a motion to approve, that it includes the 4 conditions that I just stated. Thank you.
I thought there were 5.
4 for this one. There was 4. The extension is the final extension. The city review the adequacy of the bond, that all conditions from the original approval remain in effect, and then the inland wetlands watercourse, they can't get a zoning permit until they deal with that. So there's really 4.
I thought you said that there was something. I thought there was something that you said too about the stabilization bond, conservation bond.
Well, that's in there. Yep, that the E&S review that's part of my 4 bullets, that the city review the adequacy of the existing bond, acceptable forms for E&S bonds or letter credit. So
Okay,
it's really the
all.
things that I just stated. I have them in 4 bullets to myself.
All right. So that I will entertain a motion then to approve the request for extension, subject to the 4 conditions that Deanna mentioned.
I'd like to second that motion.
No, somebody needs
Oh,
to.
You gotta make the motion.
I'm sorry. I did this last.
Jason, make the motion.
Mason makes the motion. Is there a
I'd like to
second,
make-
Kathy?
And I second it.
Okay, then all
Thank
those in
you.
favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
So it's unanimous.
Great,
Well
thank
worth the
you.
wait. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lou, on that. So the next item on the agenda, Dan's just going to give you an update on the May 13th, 2020 PIC meeting, the Plan Implementation Committee, POCD PIC meeting, Plan Implementation Committee. I was not at that meeting, so I'm going to let Dan, turn it over to Dan right now.
And
Sure,
Lou, you're
just
more than
quickly, we
welcome to
had
stay
a-
with you. Lou, you're
I'm
more than
sorry?
welcome to stay for this, but if you prefer to leave, you can
I've
check
had
out.
a long day, and I think I will bid you adieu.
Adieu.
Thank you. I'll be sending you a letter with the approvals.
Thank you, Deanna.
Okay, bye.
So we had a virtual meeting of the POCD Implementation Committee. It was mainly covering historic preservation related things, and Regan Minor put together a PowerPoint of the things that have recently been done, probably in the last 5 years or so. It was pretty extensive and covered the vast majority of the agenda for that night. I can share that with you if you'd like, rather than going through all of it. It was productive. It was easy considering the format, and the next meeting is July 8th, I believe. And at this point, we're planning for it to be held virtually as well, unless things
And
change.
it's natural resources is on the next one, and also the water resources. So Tucker Braddock has asked to have Jeff Stedman, which is their consultant for the Harbor Commission, come to the meeting so they can give the update as well.
Right.
Any questions?
Can you send us, I mean, I think I might have even seen something. I don't know. Have you sent us the PowerPoint?
I posted it on the remote website where we put all the documents for CCP and wetlands and all that.
Okay, so I can just get it on the website that, okay.
Yep.
Well,
Yep, so
I'd
go to
like
the
go
planning
through.
page. So Kathy, you
Okay.
go to the planning page to remote meetings, and then you pick what meeting it is, what board, and then it'll say the date, and you just go into the
Oh.
folder.
Okay, okay, very
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome. I guess that's
Okay.
it for that, Mike.
Thank you, Dan. Any other motion, any
Welcome.
other meetings, any other business to come before the meeting? Okay, then I will
No.
entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Jason, do you have a second?
I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimously passed. We are adjourned. Thank you,
Okay,
everybody.
thank
Thank
you.
you
Have
so
a nice
much.
night, everybody.
Good night, and thank you for having the special meeting. I'm sure Lou appreciates it too.
You're very welcome.
Not the problem.
Bye-bye.
Tell them next time to wear a suit or shirt